Before we call our lunchtime keynote speaker up, I just want to turn the floor over to Dean Wigley, who most of you, particularly those enrolled in GSAPP programs, know. Some of our speakers might not, but he's going to promise me to give a very quick welcome to the group, and then we'll turn it over to our view from New York. Okay? Thanks.
Hi, I'm Mark Wigley, the Dean of the School of Architecture, Planning, Preservation, Real Estate Development, et cetera, cities. And I just wanted to basically thank Kate for doing this amazing conference in the most beautiful room of Columbia University. Columbia has a really solid reputation for producing undistinguished rooms. Essentially, for 250 years, Columbia experimented with trying to identify the worst possible, least inspiring room and challenged the students and teachers to defeat the room in order to produce a new conversation. The way you do that, by the way, is you make one amazing room, which is the room of Low Library, and it is so beautiful and so amazing that everybody forgets about the fact that all the other rooms are a disaster. An incredible exception to that rule is this room, which is absolutely the most beautiful room, I think, on the campus, but an incredibly important part of its beauty is that it's so urban. You are, on the one hand, suspended within this sort of exotic fantasy of decor, and I feel like we should be at our kids' performance at some sort of play or something like that, but it's also thoroughly urban. You can feel the traffic outside, you can feel the conversation. So I think this is a perfect location for the Durst conference, because Durst, both as a family but also as a group of intellectuals, have always operated in this relationship between the actual infrastructure of a city and the actual life of a city, and the possibility of making a room that goes beyond what a room could be. If anybody looks at the ice-making plant in the basement of the Durst Tower, you have to understand that this is a family that operate as experimental engineers of new potentials for society. That's an amazing accomplishment. So it's an enormous honor for us to be in this relationship with the Durst family, and great that Kate is doing these conferences in honor of that kind of ambition. The difficulty for you is, now that you are in a truly inspirational room, in a university which prides itself on uninspiring rooms producing inspiring conversation, how the hell do you have a really inspiring conversation when the room is already doing all the talking? And when I was sitting here this morning, it has to be said that this is just a really, really wonderful conference and a wonderful kind of meeting together of London and New York. It could often be argued that London is closer to America than New York is. So it's not really a transatlantic exchange. It's really that we have, as it were, all gathered together just on the edge of America. I mean, perhaps New Jersey is as close as America ever came to New York. And so amazing to then listen to the real engineers of the future of this city getting together with the real engineers of the future of London. And if ever there were two cities that kind of share dreams and aspirations, that has been so evident over the last 10 years. And in many, many ways, and I'm sure Kate had said this already, London has been the teacher of New York over the last 10 years, and I think what we are very, very interested in is if this is some kind of transatlantic tennis match and it takes a long time for the ball to cross the Atlantic, what is going to be the kind of return? Like, if London served, what would be New York's magnificent response? And I think if you look around the kinds of people who are taking care of New York right now, and the ways in which old sectarian divisions between administrative departments are being undermined as we speak, there's every reason to think that New York is about to return an idea across the Atlantic. So the whole nylon connection gets revived. So it's really thrilling that Kate has done this. I will never be able to fully capture what it means for the school to be working with the Dursts on this kind of academic project. But I just want you to know we intend to honor the kindness that they have shown to us by literally helping New York create a paradigm for the future of living together. The word city might just mean that which lets us live together. And there is a huge issue here. What will it be that lets us live together in 2050 when 7 billion people will be living in cities? And I think, and then we know this when we are in rooms like this one, nobody knows the answer. But if New York is not one of the active participants in producing possible ideas of what it means to live together, then we're living in the wrong place. I don't think we're living in the wrong place, so it's great for Kate to be sort of leading the way in this. And then I'm going to hand back to Kate, who's going to introduce the miracle speaker, who I think will prove my point that right now in this town, a lot of noise is going to come out over the next decade, and that noise has the potential to be as inspirational as Manhattan itself was when it pioneered the idea of a deeply three-dimensional infrastructure. We know Hurricane Sandy indicates that model is fragile, and I think crises are fantastic for generating new ideas. And one of the main people to do this is the keynote speaker, which Kate's about to introduce. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mark. Talk about making noise. Maybe that's the right introduction. And when I think noise, I think tunnel boring machine. I think about all those people on 2nd Avenue who are very unhappy about what Michael and his team are doing under their streets. So I will make a very quick introduction, but suffice it to say that I thought Michael would be a great keynote speaker because he has been historically a transit planner and an urban planner, traffic commissioner, and also runs the MTA Capital Construction Group, which actually is building these programs. He's also not unrelated in the school, and he just reminded me that his daughter-in-law is actually a professor here at GSAPP and a colleague of mine and Mark's. So he is family of a sort, but I'd like you to give him a warm welcome.
Thank you for the introduction. By the way, I'm also a graduate of Columbia, so remember that. So I'm an alumni of sorts. I'm going to try today to kind of address the issue a little different, and I would like to start with some facts about London and New York. And while we have about the same amount of population, 8.2 million, I think, in London, or 8.1 something, and we have about 8.3, our subway system or underground in London is quite different. We first of all have we have 24 lines and 468 stations, while the underground has 11 lines and 70 stations. So ours is much larger. You had a terrific advantage over us from a point of view of operations. You shut down at night. We don't. We are a 24/7 operation. And if any one of you have ever tried to change a tire while you ride a bicycle, you'll understand the problem. It's not really easy. We are also looking at the ridership on the trains, and ours is significantly larger. And last but not least is the way our city is built. In terms of density, we have about 27,000 people per square miles. London has about half that. So we are a city that is really much denser in some areas. And to a certain degree, we have much less. We're not as uniform in our density as actually London is, in the sense that they are spread out, so they are kind of much more consistent. Because of that, once you start looking at our transit system, you will see that there are opportunities that not necessarily require you to build a new line, but requires you to actually maintain our system in a good state of repair and be reliable. And the best example that I can give you is the fact that the L, the JZ, the G, and in that regard, Long Island City, the Greenpoint area, the Williamsburg, rather than be inhabited by Greeks, Poles, and Hasidic Jews, have actually opened up to absorb a large swath of young people that have moved in these areas. And the reason they move is economic in one side, but also the fact that they had access to good transit that was underutilized, and once we were able to bring it to a state of good repair, that actually made it possible to happen. So I wanted to underline that, because although I am personally embarked in the construction of the biggest expansion in 80 years of the system, I'm also cognizant of the fact that maintaining the system in a good state of repair and being reliable and safe is key to our success going forward as a city. Let me just walk you through some of the expansion projects that we are currently undertaking, and I'm going to try to move you through that relatively quickly. You're going to see some pictures of where we are today, and I can tell you that I'm out underground quite often, and I always look at it in total amazement, although I've done that right now for close to 5 years, and I've been in this business for 40 years. So I've seen this stuff, but really I've not gotten to do it the way I'm doing it now. So if I look back about 30 years, we have decades of disinvestment that actually left our system in shambles, daily breakdowns, fires, endless waits, high crime. I got to experience it when I came here, because my first thing that I did when I came here, I came and started my my graduate studies at Columbia, and I used to travel from here into Queens on a day, or not almost daily, because I went to school here. So the system was in a death spiral at the time, and it was in effect, the drop in population, although the economics were here to push that, but at the same time, the transit system became a symbol of urban decay. Some people call this art. I've heard that in Paris when I visited lately, because they now get to see that there, and they kind of kindly refer to it differently. I thought it's vandalism, but we're able to get away from that. And if we move forward to where we are today, what we're going to see is that between '83 and 2009, we invested about $80 billion in deferred maintenance, replacement of parts vehicles, and major system improvements that actually, and I think, if I recall, Bob Paley mentioned that we went from 7,000 miles to 170,000 miles between breakdowns. So that's an incredible number. If you, and actually my experience was that not necessarily they broke down, the doors would not open. You get into the station, you couldn't get out of the train. Currently, over 2.6 billion rides are taken annually. So there is an incredible increase in ridership that matches almost the peak times that were probably in the 40s, late 40s, 50s. The MTA is actually the lifeblood of a 1.4 trillion regional economy. And here I would like to point out something that also is part of our geography. Hudson River is sometimes a border between 1/3 of the people that want to come into New York, and quite frankly, they have the ability to travel from New Jersey to New York has been greatly diminished by the fact that the ARC project was abolished, and right now we could have used that. The MTA provides about 8.5 million transit rides a day. That represents 30% of all the rides in the US, so that you can get the size. And then if you look at the next 10 US systems, we do provide more than that. I tried to look at the number of domestic airline industry. We do better than that. And we have an annual operating budget of $13 billion and a capital program that is the 10 to 14 of $24+ billion. So, and this is not something that we are aspiring to do. This is something we are doing right now. The population growth is a near record today. And if you follow the way transit has moved up, the population came back, the economy picked up. So when transit is not providing and doing its job, the rest of us suffer in the economy, and as well as the number of people in the city. We estimated about 1 million more people in the city by 2035. And the region itself that now has 26 million people will grow as well. It's very important to also understand that we are in the middle of a tri-state area. We used to have a tri-state regional one many years ago. It was Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey, and kind of disappeared. Now we have MPOs and other things. But the bottom line is that we are totally linked economically with New Jersey, and somehow that transportation policy on the other side of the river does not follow. If you look at New York, the transportation investments are key to our growth. Unless we are going to continue to invest, that will actually stop us from growing and keeping up with the rest of the world. We also have to look at it carefully and thoughtfully, so we provide for the reliability, and that's key to our continued success in at least maintaining where we are, and then we have to move beyond that. Let me tell you a bit about what's MTA Capital Construction. We were created in 2003. It's basically to deal with the major capital expansion, and these are a number of projects, including security projects, by the way, for MTA. And this was the largest public transit expansion program in the nation today. We are overall looking at about $17 billion over since our inception, since we started. And the 18 plus, it also includes the security project. So I would, for expansion purposes, I will actually count them out. We have capacity and mobility projects, and I kind of try to separate between increased capacity and mobility. Mobility are projects that will actually bring in many ways, additional development. And if you look to the left, the number 7 line extension is a clear mobility project. That means expansion, and this was done actually in the hills of the our bid for the Olympics. I participated in that as a consultant at the time. I did the transportation, the Great X that we were providing, and that was actually the extension of that. And someone had asked me, he said, why are we going west? I said, our forefathers used to go west for gold. Our new gold is real estate. So we are headed west here. We do have the 2nd Avenue subway phase 1. And this piece of the 2nd Avenue subway in its entirety is going through the densest residential area in the United States. We have over 100,000 residents per square mile. And some people that have heard me talking about it, I said that we are competing with us. There are 3 areas that compete with us, and they're all prisons that have over 100,000 people per square mile. The East Side Access is actually a project that was a dream for many years to bring the Long Island Railroad under Grand Central. That is happening as we speak, and that will be a game changer for Long Islanders. And will open up the area around Grand Central for additional development. A lot of stuff has moved from Lower Manhattan that now becomes, or is becoming, a 24-hour area in terms of residential mix to businesses, and is moving to Midtown. We have 2 other projects. Unfortunately, the South Ferry Terminal project that suffered during Sandy, that is now being rebuilt. We finished that in 2009. And then the Fulton Center, that is the building that will put together the intersection of 11 subway lines and the path. And that's going to be a grand building and a grand civic statement that I think we're all going to be proud of. The East Side Access is $8.24 billion to be finished in 2019. 2nd Avenue, 445, 2016. 7 West, $2.1 billion, and I'm only counting the transportation part. There are other pieces to it, but only the transportation is 2.1, and then Fulton Center, 1.4 billion. Let me just walk you quickly through some of the project. East Side Access, it starts in Sunnyside Yards. This is the busiest interlocking for passenger trains in the country right now. We're talking about 750 to 800 trains per day, and we have tunneled on the soft ground. We have 4 tunnels there that we completed already, and then we have built an underpass, a very expensive underpass under Northern Boulevard. It cost about $1 million a foot. We then continue into an existing tunnel, 63rd Street, and then we excavated all the way from 63rd and 2nd Avenue to 36th and Park. The station under Grand Central, the lowest point is 160 feet below ground, and we have created some huge caverns that will, at one point, allow 8 trains at any given time to be there. Just shows you some of the concourse and where we are. That's going to be pretty much designed to fit architecturally into the Grand Central. That is really our jewel. And we expect to be able to service about 160,000 people day one, save people about 40 minutes travel time. And this is a one-seat ride from Long Island, and eventually would be able to allow for a reverse commute as well. A benefit that no one thought about it when this was done is access to JFK. One can take now from, well, in 2019, now is not the right statement, would be able to take a train to Jamaica and then the air train to JFK. So that's it's a benefit that no one actually considered when we have done that. Construction progress photos, just to get a sense. This is one of the caverns. The cavern that we're looking at, this is the one that will house the station. You see 4 tunnels going to the end of it. And we are basically right now, the height of it is about 70 feet. And it's 70 foot wide and 1,100 feet long. There's some other pictures. This is actually a Y, and it gets you a sense of the size and magnitude of the job. This is an escalator shaft going up from the concourse down. It's kind of, you can't get the angle by looking at it, is at a 40-degree angle, so it's pretty steep. It actually emulates the London escalators in some respect. You can see it from here, looking from the other side down. And then in Queens, we have done probably one of the most complex jobs that I've been involved with engineering-wise. We have we put a tunnel on the Northern Boulevard that is 10 feet above us. We have the I&D line, then an elevator line with foundations on piles going down. We'll see it in a moment. This is the one that was 100 foot long, $100 million to build. These are the 4 tunnels that are going from the western side through the yards. So that were done, and in some instances we're 6 to 8 feet below the rail. And quite frankly, we were successful in not moving any of the rail. This kind of was our fear. This is the Northern Boulevard underpass. It was done on the soft ground, basically excavated mostly mechanical or by hand. And we had a frozen arch. We had a stream going through, so we had to create a frozen arch, and we expect to actually transfer all the loads. And if you don't hear anything, it means we're successful in May. Financing, $8 to $4 billion. Local funding, 5.5. Federal, 2.7. So about a third was funded by the feds, with the rest by MTA. All federal funding approved to the New Starts full funding grant agreement with FDA. And we had additional budgets for rolling stock that were outside the capital program, as well as we had some additional investment in the overall region in terms of regional investment to make the whole thing work better. 2nd Avenue subway, full, goes from 125th Street all the way down to Hanover Square when it's done. Right now, phase 1 is 96 to 63rd. Phase 2 will be to 125th Street. And I'm going to mention here something that is important. We're now looking at the second phase for the next capital program. And one of the things that would make a lot of sense when we look at that is to consider continuing the tunnels, at least, all the way west on 125th Street to basically right about here. The reason for that, it doesn't require one to actually develop the stations immediately, but once you have the tunnel boring machine in the ground, the incremental cost is rather small to go there, and the question would be to what extent we're going to get funded. But that's in many ways the ability for this corridor to actually grow and develop. The third is probably the most expensive one of all. We're talking about 6 stations going down from 63rd to Houston Street. Just to get your sense, a station today costs $1 billion. Okay, so it's not a small change, and any contribution, guys can leave the checks at the door. We accept that. That's not, at this point, I mean, we have preliminary engineering, but that's about it. And whoever gets to Hanover Square gets to put a statue there, I guess. And that's the 4th line. This is the type of station that we expect to build. This is actually the Q line at the beginning is going to be Q. Progress photos, this is the TBM as it goes in. The work has been completed. Just as a not unimportant piece of information, this is the same tunnel boring machine that did the 63rd Street tunnel way back in the 80s. This is a victory lap for the workers at 63rd Street when we broke through. This is how the 72nd Street cavern looks like. It's 5 football fields. It's about 80 feet high and is right now moving forward. So I figured out that golfers could come in and actually hit a golf ball and will not hit anything if they're good. Financing, again, phase 1, $445 billion. Funding, local 3, feds 1,375. Again, about the third by the feds. And all contracts, and now is not true, all contracts, because one was, we received yesterday bids on one of them, so we now have a certitude on cost. All contracts have been bid, and actually we're doing well, and for a change, we hope to be able to bring the project significantly under budget. That will be a really good thing. We have completed a number of contracts, but right now we are continuing and we expect to complete the work at the end of 2016. This is the Grimshaw design for the Fulton Transit, for the Fulton Center downtown. Just gonna, if you look at this, it's just to give you a sense of what we're connecting here. So we're gonna be connecting the AC 2 and 3, JZ 4, 5. We have 11 lines here that come together, and including path that will be connected on the underpass on the Day Street that comes directly from what will be the Calatrava, I guess, signature type terminal. And we're trying to make sure that it will not be outshined here. So it's not easy. That's how this will look like. What we're doing here is, in fact, putting a significant amount of retail space. We have taken over and rehabilitated the Corbin building that was one of the first skyscrapers in New York. So again, that is, although it's a transportation hub, we're going out with a master leasee that will actually lease the space, so we're going to be able to generate revenues. And we hope that there will be significant revenue. And right, Jeff? This is how it looks today, actually. This is the Corbin building that we rehabilitated. And this is how the we're bringing light all the way down to the 3rd level, so that's kind of a new thing for the subway system. The financing, 1.4, but here, most of the money came from the feds. So local funding, 130, 1270 from the federal government. And this was federal funding from the Lower Manhattan Recovery Funds and the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act put us in a position to be able to finish that. And we expect to finish it again by next summer. We'll be done. Number 7, the one that has been talked about, it started basically, in effect, as a last frontier, but it started as part of the development for the Olympics. It kind of took a different direction, but it happened. So that was funded by the City of New York. The original proposal for the football stadium did not go forward, and we ended up actually being funded by the City of New York, and MTA has sold its air rights for the rail yards that made it really possible for all. The rezoning to transform the area into a TOD, transit-oriented development and friendly in such a way, made it possible through a tax increment financing, and I think Jeff is going to speak about it later on, for us to be able to achieve that. Again, this is one station. The other station at 41st Street was not built. It had to do with funding, but we have in fact, design it in such a way so that it will not be precluded. So anyone that can, it's about $500 million to do it. So it's possible to do it and the train still to run, but right now the funding is not in place. One of the things, if you look at the number 7, intersects 19 of 23 subway lines, and someone could have actually considered continuing that to 14th Street to complete the loop. And that could be something going on in the future. Only one thing that we had, when we did it, we looked at it, and the geotechnical was problematic. But it's absolutely doable, and it's just a matter of a few more pennies to be added to the kitty. This is the Hudson Yards. This is the projected development, and you can see the magnitude. And this is, we have a number of development sites as well. The financing, again, was through the Hudson Yard Infrastructure Corporation. They had $3 billion in bonds, 2 for the subway, 1 for contingency, $100 million, $200 million, the rail transfer, parks, and unlike other MTA projects, this is totally funded by the City of New York, and we are very happy about that. The transit financing is actually 2.419 because we actually did put in $53 million to do some preliminary engineering, and then HYDC funded non-subway work, so it's about 2.419 in total. Again, city 98%, MTA 2%. And this was paid basically through incremental revenue from new development. And again, I don't want to talk about that because Jeff is going to have much more time to do so. We expect to have a lot of development. It was rezoned, and we can accommodate 25 million square feet of new office, 20,000 units of new housing, 2 million square feet of new retail, and so forth. So that's actually something important in terms of development, and that matches in many ways what London has done. Just to give you some pictures. I'm told I don't have much time. So this is in pretty advanced stages. We expect to finish it in the summer of 2014. The New York challenge is really very much due to institutional differences. New York, MTA Public Benefit Corporation, chartered in 1965, London, 2000, Greater London. As a public benefit corporation, in effect, we have a board. The board is appointed by the governor, by the mayor, and also a number of members are actually members that are coming from the various regions from other counties, Westchester, Rockland, Suffolk, and they all have, we call them a quarter pounder because they get a quarter of a vote, but they are there. And that is an independent board. It's supposed to be. London Borough Council, responsible for a lot of other things. but mayor serves as the chairman of the Transport for London. Not in our case. The chairman is appointed by the governor. Investment in the core and network expansion. Again, we run 24/7. Very hard to do it. And we need continuous investment in service reliability. Without that, we'll go down. So if there is a need for money to be put in one place first, is to maintain our system in such a way that it will continue to be reliable. We need to keep up with global competition. For that, we need to invest in new capacity as well as mobility expansion. But however, again, this is going to come secondary to what we're doing. Economic development in the MTA, we are, again, a public benefit corporation, so our responsibility is for operating and maintaining the system and assist, and the keyword here is assist, in developing a mass transportation policy. We don't get to do it, we get to assist in that. And therefore, we do not create economic development policy. That's done by the governor, by the mayor, by other people, not by us. Very important. Institutional perspective, I would say that because I have very little time left, I'm making a very bold proposal. We should actually move the capital of the United States to New York. We get full funded by the federal government, and our worries will be gone. Not quite is going to happen anytime soon, but I just thought that that's kind of a cute thought. The Europeans are a little different. When people speak of Paris and France, is one word, and there's no difference. The British have their seat of government in London, so therefore, London, want it or not, will get a lot of support from the central government. With that, I think that the only thing I can say, we report to the governor, and we'll continue to do so. And our policy is to basically follow and our chart that we are running the system rather than create economic policy. Thank you.